Welcome back to the Rich Dad Radio Show, where we're talking about the good news and the bad news about flipping real estate. I am your host, Brent Daniels, and I am telling you this: if I can do this business, so can you. And we know on this show that the most proven path to financial freedom is through discounted real estate. So I want to jump in the time machine. I want to go back to 2013 and give you a really interesting example of how you can go out today, take massive imperfect action, and find yourself an incredible real estate opportunity that could mean $10,000, $20,000, $30,000, $50,000, upwards to $100,000 by just this example right here. By just this story that I'm going to tell you, you can go out and implement this into your marketplace, into wherever you want to buy and sell real estate or own real estate. You can go out there today and go find a great deal. So it's 2013. I am walking down 42nd Street in Phoenix, Arizona. This is a really popular area because it's a neighborhood that was built in the 50s and 60s. And back in the time, they were building smaller houses. These houses were, 1,000 to 1,500 square feet, but they were on good-sized lots. They were on 8,000, 10,000, 15,000 square foot lots. So it was a really popular area for investors that wanted to do fix and flips. And I was given the Rich Dad, Poor Dad book in the year 2000 as a high school graduation gift, and it broke my brain. I mean, it changed my life forever. And so I went to college, I got my real estate license, and I started working as a real estate agent because I needed some active income, right? I needed some cash flow coming from my efforts every single day. I couldn't afford to buy assets yet. I couldn't afford to be on the right side of the cash flow quadrant where it's the business owner and investor. I was more of like self-employed as a real estate agent. And so I built relationships with real estate investors in town, and I knew that if I could find them opportunities, if I could find them people that wanted to sell their properties and they weren't on the market, this is very key. These are off-market opportunities. These aren't the properties that are listed on the MLS, on Zillow. These aren't for sale by owners. These are people that nobody else knows about because they haven't really raised their hand that they're selling their property. And this is really key. This is where you find the absolute best deals. I'm telling you this. So I was walking down 42nd Street. I got to the end of the street. I'm dripping in sweat, literally dripping in sweat. I had a tucked in polo. It was like a golf polo that was, one of those that, it's really good for sweat, right? It's like a nylon material. I was wearing shorts and a pair of sneakers, and I knocked on the last house on the corner, and Carol answered. And Carol came out, and she was lovely. She was a really wonderful gal, and she could tell that I was nervous. I had never really knocked on a lot of doors. I was always very afraid of initiating conversations with strangers. When I was growing up and you had to do fundraisers by selling whatever, tickets or candy bars or whatever else, I'd always delegate that to my dad to take it to work and do that for me. I was always afraid to go out and initiate those conversations. It just wasn't something that I was used to. It wasn't something that I had ever done. So I had pushed that down. I had pushed that fear down, and I decided I was going to take massive imperfect action. I was going to go out into the streets and find opportunities, because I was broke. I didn't have any money for marketing, so I had to do something. And I know that I have a big motor. I know that batteries come included with me. I know that I have good energy, I have good intentions, I have good morals, I have good ethics. I know that if I can just have a good conversation with somebody, that I can make something happen. So I'm talking to Carol, and I ask her, I say, I've got an investor that's interested in buying homes in the area. Would you consider an offer on your property? And Carol said, No. I love the neighborhood. I raised my kids in this neighborhood. They live around the corner. All my friends are here. I would never leave this neighborhood. And I said, okay, no problem. Do you have any other properties that you would consider selling? She said, no, this is the only property that I have. And as I go to turn, ready to go back down the other side of the street, she said, "You know what? Hold on a second. I have a friend, Margie, and I am the caretaker of her home. She has the home 4 houses down, and she's 92 years old. She lives in New York City, and she hasn't been to the house in years. I just make sure that the landscapers keep it clean so she doesn't have a lot of code violations. And let me go inside and see if I can get permission for you to reach out to her to see if she would sell her property to your investor." I said, "Okay, great." 5 minutes later, she comes back with a slip of paper. Had name, address, phone number on it. And she said, "Margaret said, give her a call and start and see if there's something that you guys can put together there." And I said, "Okay, great." So I'm walking back down the street to my car, and I was like, "You know what? I'll wait until I'm out of the heat. I'll go back home and I'll give her a call." But then I knew I was going to be a coward. I knew maybe I would chicken out. Maybe I wouldn't make that call, and because I didn't want to be disappointed, right? I didn't want to call and Margaret say, "Well, she doesn't really want to sell the house. She just wants to know how much it's worth, and it would just be a waste of time." All of these hallucinations going on inside my head. And I said, "Stop it, Brent. Stop. Just call her right now." So I stopped. The sun is literally baking me. If you've ever been in Phoenix, May, June, July, it's basically like getting cremated. And I dialed the number. Margaret picked up, and we had a wonderful conversation. She was so incredible. And I asked her the 4 main questions that I really needed to understand to be able to tell my investor about this property. And the 4 main questions are: what is the condition of the property? What is your timeline to sell this property? What is your motivation? Why are you going to sell it? And how much do you want? Right? And guys, I'm telling you, if you understand, if you've never had a conversation with a property owner, if you just find out those 4 things, you win. You pre-qualify every single property owner every single time based on those: condition, timeline, motivation, price. The condition was basically original. It was like a museum in there. She had a ton of personal property, and she wanted to leave some of it, but she wanted to do an estate sale before we closed. I said, "Not a problem. I can organize that." Her timeline was she just wanted to sell some of her personal property and then close as soon as possible. Her motivation was it was a second home. She never goes there anymore. She's getting older. She just wanted to liquidate it so that she would have the money in her trust. And, at the time when she did pass, she would be able to divvy that up a lot easier amongst her family. And the price she wanted was $180,000. So I took that back to my investor, and his name was Derek. And Derek said, "Yeah, that'll work. I think that's a great deal, Brent. I can't believe you got this deal." And I was like, "Oh, okay. Well, will you pay me 3% commission?" And he was like, "Yeah, absolutely." And I was like, "Oh my gosh, this is the cheat code. 3% of $180,000. It's like over $5,000. Oh my gosh. I was just out, knocking on doors. Like, this didn't cost me anything. This is incredible. Oh my gosh." And then I realized if I just had the name, address, and phone number of people that had original condition or really rough properties, I would be set for life. That's all I need. All I need to do is have conversations every single day and make offers on these properties, and my financial problems will disappear. And it's the absolute truth. I'm telling you, you just get the name, address, and phone number, and you have the courage to reach out to these property owners and see if they would consider an offer in their property. You are set. You are absolutely set. That was an incredible lesson that I learned that day. Just give me the name, address, and phone number, and let me build up enough momentum to reach out to them, and maybe they'll reject me. Maybe they won't want to sell their property. Maybe they'll even be mean. It doesn't matter. As an entrepreneur, we need to be like rhinos. We need to have really thick rhinoceros skin. And as long as I have that name, address, and phone number, and I have that thick skin, and I have the energy that I have and the excitement that I have for this business, I could do anything. And so I'm going to the closing table, and the title and escrow company sends me the settlement statement, and I just wanted to see it to make sure that my commission was on there, because usually your commissions are on the MLS. Usually you're getting when you're a real estate agent, you're working off of the MLS, so you know what your commissions are, and the title company knows what the commissions are. So I just wanted to verify that they had it right. And I saw, boom, there's my commission, 3%, 180, awesome. But then I looked at the top of the settlement statement, the closing statement, and Derek's company isn't on the top of the settlement statement. He was on the purchase agreement that I got signed between him and Margaret, but then now he wasn't on there. And then it was some other company's name. And then at the bottom of the first page, there's a line item, and it said assignment fee. And I look over under the buyer, and it says $40,000. And I was confused, and I was like, okay, what is going on here? So I reached out to Derek, and I go, Derek, who's closing on this deal? Your company's not on the closing statement. It doesn't make sense to me. He goes, oh, no, I sold that property. I said, what? I go, what do you mean you sold that property? You don't own the property. How do you sell a property that you don't own? And he said, oh, well, don't worry about it. I assigned it to a buddy of mine, and he's going to be closing on it, but you still get your commission. And I was like, okay. I don't understand what's going on here. As long as I'm getting my commission, great. So Margaret has everything approved by her attorney and her real estate agent in New York. It was a good deal for them. They liked it. Derek sold the property to another investor, and he earned $40,000 without ever putting any money into the property. So I kind of put that in the back of my head, and I was like, okay, whatever. Let's find some more. So I went out, and I found 2 more deals in similar neighborhoods. Brought it to Derek. Derek paid me my 3%, but he doesn't close on it. Somebody else is closing on it. Now it's a different company. Now there's another $30,000 under something called an assignment fee. And I was like, what is happening here? I said, Derek, you got to explain to me what's going on. And he said, Brent, have you ever bought a car at a dealership? And I said, yeah. And he goes, did you turn in your car to them? Did you get a trade-in value for your car when you did that? And I said, yeah. He goes, why'd you do that? Why didn't you just clean up your car, get it detailed, get new tires, put nice rims on it, get it beautiful, put it on the open market, and get as much as you could for that property? And I said, well, it's not convenient. I don't want to do that. I don't want to have to sell it and go through that whole process. I just want it to be done. I just want the new car, and I want the old car to be gone. And he says, that's what people do with real estate. And I said, what do you mean? He goes, every single day, people will trade price for speed and convenience. And I said, okay. And he says, so when you find properties that are in original condition and really rough shape, oftentimes the property owners don't have a budget to go in and fix this up to get full market value. So they want to sell it to a cash investor to just be rid of it for speed and convenience. I said, yeah, that's what I'm running into. Those are the deals that I'm bringing to you and putting them on your plate. But it looks like you're selling them before you even own them. And he goes, yeah, because there are other investors that want these deals, and they're willing to pay me the assignment fee to take over, to scratch my name out of the purchase agreement with that seller and put their name in so they can buy the property with the terms that you've negotiated. And I said, what? I said, so if I'm a buyer on a purchase agreement, I can go to a seller and give them a cash purchase agreement to purchase their property, and then I can reach out to other investors to see if they want to pay me to scratch off my name and put their name in, and they can buy that property and do that deal and fix up that property. He said, right. And I was like, well, why aren't I doing that? And he goes, well, do you have the money in your bank account to be an actual cash buyer? You can't lie to the sellers. You can't tell them that you're going to buy it cash if you don't have the cash. I go, no, I don't have the cash, Derek. And he goes, yeah, that's what I thought. That's why you need me. I have the cash. It's in my account. And I was like, okay. And so I was just chewing on this and chewing on this and chewing on this. And I was like, man, if I only had the money in an account, I could be the buyer, and then I could assign my rights to purchase this property to somebody else, and I could get these big fees. By the way, I did 3 deals with Derek, and he made $92,000 in assignment fees by literally replacing himself in the purchase agreement. Actually, in Chapter 5 of Rich Dad, Poor Dad, Robert Kiyosaki talks about the same thing. He did this exact same strategy with an apartment complex and made $50,000 in 3 days without having to put any money into it. But I never saw it. I never understood it. When I read it, it didn't make any sense to me that somebody would pay you so much money for the right to purchase a property. But the fact is this: when a seller signs a purchase agreement with a buyer, that buyer has the exclusive right to purchase the property. They can't sell that property to anybody else. As soon as that happens, that is an asset. That is an asset that you can sell. And so you can flip properties that you don't own. I have done this over almost 2,000 times. I would say over 2,000. In about 15, 20 more deals, and I'll be over 2,000 times I have flipped properties that I do not own using this strategy. But what about the money in the account, Brent? What about that part? Well, this is what is amazing. This is why real estate is the best business ever. Ever. Nothing's even close. I was at a title company meetup event, and I met a guy named Chris Iman. Chris Iman is a hard money lender and a wholesaler in town. And I was telling him about my predicament, about how I don't have the money in my account. He goes, what are you talking about? He goes, you don't need the money in your personal account. I go, well, I can't lie on a purchase agreement and say that I'm going to buy a property for cash and not have that money. He goes, I have the money. I go, what do you mean? He goes, it's called transactional funding. Okay, you're saying words, but I don't understand what they mean. Transactional funding. He says, listen, Brent, there is more money than there are deals. Okay? You find an unbelievable discounted deal, and I will fund 100% of the purchase. I will give you 100%. You don't have to bring any money to the table if it's a good enough deal, because it's not a risk for me. I understand the market. I've been doing this for 15 years. I've seen every deal. I've been at all the foreclosure auctions forever and ever. I understand values. You could tell me an address, and I can understand if it's a deal in 5 seconds. And I was like, holy cow. So you're saying that you have millions of dollars that you will back me on any of these deals as long as they're real deals? He said, yes. That's when it changed forever. Guys, the whole industry is set up for the people that take the time to build the skills of finding discounted real estate. Everything else is taken care of. I am telling you, you could Google transactional funding right now, and I am telling you there is companies lining up to provide 100% financing for you without any experience, without good credit, without job history. They don't care, because it's called something, it's called asset-based lending. Asset-based lending. That they're looking at the property and the price of it and the potential of that property. They're not looking at you. It like blew my mind. It's like when I read Rich Dad Poor Dad, it broke my brain. Now I'm an actual cash buyer. You're an actual cash buyer. Everybody's an actual cash buyer if you build the skill of finding discounted real estate. It's the absolute fact. Guys, we have training on this at richdad.com. You can go to that. You can see that. I've got a whole hour of training showing you exactly how to do this if you're interested in it. Also, if you're watching this on YouTube, put in the comments section how you feel about this. Put in the comments section what you know about this or if you have questions about this. I would love to start a dialogue with anybody that wants to talk about this because wholesaling real estate is the backbone of all of the fix and flip properties, all of the BRRRR strategies. It all starts with finding a great deal. And that's really all wholesaling is. Wholesaling is the art of finding discounted properties. And you could do it in so many different ways. And I'm so excited that they've allowed me, they've unleashed me on this podcast and on this YouTube channel to really educate people on the right way to do this and how to do it so that you can just focus on actual income-producing activities and not get wrapped up in education mode or just kind of staying in neutral because you're not exactly sure what actions to go out and take. I am here to give you instruction on how to go out and find the absolute best real estate deals possible in your marketplace. Step number one, go out into the streets and find the roughest looking properties that you can. Go out there and find the roughest ones that you can, and you knock on that door or you send them a handwritten mailer or you find their phone. You could literally plug in their address on Google and find their phone numbers and reach out to them and see if they would consider an offer on your phone. This is how you build the momentum in your real estate journey. Because as soon as you start building that skill, you can replace your 9 to 5. And then you move from the E quadrant to the S quadrant. S quadrant means a specialized skill. You're building a specialized skill. And then at some point, you're going to be so good at this and making so much income that you can start hiring people to replace you in certain parts of that, the certain roles in the business. And then you get to fire yourself. Then you become a B. You're in the B quadrant, and once that's running and you get to work on your business, not in your business, that's when you focus your efforts on buying the best investments, and you get into the I quadrant. That's when you buy the assets that give you those beautiful, sweet words that Robert Kiyosaki has just burned into our brain, cash flow. And then the cash flow pays for our expenses in our income statement, right? And then all of a sudden, our assets are covering our expenses and we're out of the rat race, just like cash flow, the board game, teaches us. Real estate is the best business. Finding discounted properties is the most proven path for you. I am telling you, it'll absolutely change your life. I wish somebody had sat me down and explained this to me in 2000, that if I just got the name, address, and phone number of somebody that had a property that was in original condition or in really rough shape, and I built the skills of effectively communicating and understanding what a deal is and what a deal is not, my whole life would have changed. I would have been out of the rat race so much sooner. So here I am, telling you exactly what to go and do. It's up to you. It's up to you to go out and take massive imperfect action, like a 5,000-pound rhinoceros charging towards that goal of finding a great opportunity. You can do this. I believe in you. You're incredible. Till next time. Love you guys. Talk to you soon.